Hello everyone, welcome to Rubber Industry NewsHour. This is a weekly news program for the rubber industries. As you know, it's an initiative of the TechnoBiz, and this program happens on every Monday, same time at now at 9:30 p.m. in Singapore, and if you look at in the India time, it's 7 p.m. India time. Just give you a quick overview about what is the content of this rubber industry news server. We will have some business and technology trends and also research trends, and we cover on the natural rubber market review and what kind of opportunities are available in terms of jobs. And also we have a business profiles, companies profiles, and also buyer guide, suppliers, manufacturers profiles, and the contact information also there. And one special program is called Tips and Tricks, which is focusing on the useful tips, ideas that improve the process or solving the problems in the rubber processing. So that's overview, but you may not be having every time all the things, but some topics will be covered in each week, have different content, but this is an overview of the rubber industry news server. Happens every Monday. I'd like to thank and also appreciate the partners in the Rubber World magazine, Rubber and Tires, and also of course we have a TechnoBiz handling the rubber industry network, Rubber Technologies global network of the Facebook group. So we are involved. All these groups are supporting and promoting this event, Rubber Industry News Server. And if you're interested to subscribe the magazines at rubberworld.com and Rubber Tires, there's a free to subscribe. It's a digital edition is a free. You go to their websites and subscribe for it. As you know, this program is initiated and owned by the TechnoBiz. So let me give you the overview about the TechnoBiz for the benefit of all the audience. Some of you may know already about TechnoBiz, some are new to TechnoBiz. So just give you the idea what is TechnoBiz all about, and I will show you the video just a second. This video gives you what kind of services we offer for the rubber industry. Okay, that's about the TechnoBiz, and I'm hoping that you get an idea now what we offer as TechnoBiz for the rubber industries. Okay, let's get to this event. Now we are on the 14th February, Rubber Industry NewsHour. Welcome you all. And, in this session, we have expert Mr. Jung Jacob, who is a rubber industry analyst. He will be discussing and sharing his views on the natural rubber market review. Then we have Mr. Narapathidhar, is a rubber and tire industry consultant with more than 45 years experience in the rubber and tire industries. He will be sharing some of the tips and tricks related to some problems in the tire industry. And we have Dr. K. Rajkumar, who is a director of the Indian Rubber Manufacturers Research Association. We'll be discussing about the IRMRA and the research activities at IRMRA. So these are the main activities today as a part of the Rubber Industry NewsHour. Okay, let's get to today's the first program. First issue is focusing on the rubber industry NR market review. Let me invite our guest speaker, expert, Mr. Jung Jacob. Is a rubber industry analyst. As you may know, he has more than 35+ years experience working in the natural rubber industries. He'll be sharing his views on the current situation on the natural rubber market. Mr. Jung, sir, please.
Welcome to the natural rubber market review. When I presented the short-term outlook last Monday, I shared a number of observations on the expected performance of natural rubber prices during the last week. The observations made last week were, first, physical markets will get strong support from a seasonal shortage of natural rubber. That was one important observation. Second, latex price will perform relatively better than TSR, or technically specified rubber. Third observation was that futures markets need not fully reflect the favorable conditions prevailing in the physical market in the form of seasonal low production and tight supply. Futures market need not reflect these favorable factors because futures market will be weighed down by a number of factors which can prevent or discourage speculative investment. So these were the three observations we made last week about the likely performance of natural rubber price during last week. So let us look how natural rubber prices performed last week. Just have a review of last week. We start with the TSR, technically specified rubber. And there are two important markets for technically specified, physical market for technically specified rubber. One is STR20 market, FOB market, Bangkok. So Bangkok STR20 averaged 2.4% higher during last week compared to a week before. Another important market for STR or TSR is SMR20 market, FOB Kuala Lumpur. So SMR20 FOB Kuala Lumpur averaged 2.0% higher during last week compared to a week before. Then coming to latex markets, physical markets, Bangkok markets. There are two markets, important market for latex. One is Bangkok and the other is Kuala Lumpur. Bangkok market averaged to 6.1% higher. Bangkok market of latex averaged 6.1% higher during last week compared to a week before. So just compare in Bangkok market, just now we have mentioned that TSR20 averaged 2.4% higher in Bangkok markets. In the same market, latex price averaged 6.1% higher. That means we have predicted latex performing better than TSR, and exactly, and this actually 3 times higher, means 2.4% higher was the increase in the case of 2.4% was the increase in the case of TSR, but in the case of latex, the increase is 6.1%, the same market. When coming to Kuala Lumpur latex markets, Kuala Lumpur latex prices averaged 3.6% higher during last week compared to a week before, 3.6%. But in Kuala Lumpur itself, SMR20 averaged only 2.0% higher. So here also latex markets performed considerably better or higher than the TSR grade. So exactly it means latex prices average relatively higher than TSR both in Bangkok and Kuala Lumpur markets, exactly in the way we expected or predicted. Now coming to RSS, ribbed smoked sheet, we have two important markets. One is RSS Bangkok, RSS3 Bangkok, and other is RSS4 Kottayam. RSS3 Bangkok averaged 4.5% higher, 4.5% higher during last week compared to a week before. But coming to Indian market, it's a Kottayam Indian market, Kottayam market in India, the RSS4 price averaged 0.5% lower. The most prominent grade or popular grade in India is RSS4, and that averaged 0.5% lower. So lower in Kottayam because of some specific domestic factors. So in India, especially in the state of Kerala, which is producing more than 70% of country's total production of natural rubber, the seasonal shortage has not, seasonal low supply period has not started, because it is the wintering season or off season is expected to start only by the last week of February. So that means supply is not affected by the wintering or defoliation of tree, not affected. At the same time, when we look into the other side or demand side, tire companies, auto tire companies have been less active in the market during last week. So this is a specific situation. Indian market performed different from the rest of the world due to specific domestic factors. So this is a review of the last week. And we look into the coming week, or what can be expected during this week. First, we should consider the key influencing factors. We have three important factors, influencing factors to be discussed. We are expecting for this week. First of all, most important thing, apart from demand and supply, most important thing is heightened geopolitical tension between Russia and the US-led West over Ukraine. So what are the implications of this geopolitical tension for speculative investment? Geopolitical tension means investors rush to safe haven currencies. In a situation of risk and uncertainties, usually speculative investors will park the amount in safe haven currencies or other assets, similar assets. So investors will rush to safe haven currencies, including dollar. That means a dollar will be gaining during this week, and a strong dollar makes speculative investment less attractive. Or in other words, geopolitical tension adds a risk and uncertainties in speculative investment. So that will be reflected in the futures market. So the heightened geopolitical tension over Ukraine will be weighing down the futures market. This is first important factor. Second important factor, US inflation hits 7.5% in January 2022. 7.5% means this is the highest, or usually inflation we say hottest in 40 years. So what are its implications? Very high inflation means that is adding further pressure on the US Federal Reserve to hike policy interest rates. So there will be a higher pressure on the Federal Reserve to move more quickly to adopt or to implement hawkish policies, or means aggressive hawkish policies, or there will be more forcefully, they will be implementing the rate hike more forcefully than earlier time. According to officials, quoting officials in the Federal Reserve, there have been report that earlier Federal Reserve was planning to increase interest rate by only 0.225% in March. Now they are considering to increase the rate, increase the policy interest rate by 0.5. That means the extent of rate hike may be higher, and it may happen sooner. So the resultant higher borrowing cost and stronger dollar make speculative investment unattractive, or speculative investors in futures market will be extremely cautious on fear of imminent and aggressive hawkish policy step by Federal Reserve. So that means we have two important factors dissuading or discouraging speculative investment. One is geopolitical tension over Ukraine, and the second is imminent and aggressive policy intervention by the US Federal Reserve, which can make interest rate higher, borrowing costs higher, and dollar stronger. These are two negative factors exerting downward pressure or keeping the sentiment down in rubber futures. Then coming to the physical market, a further tightness in global supply of natural rubber is expected during this week, because more number of farmers have reportedly stopped tapping to give tapping rest to the trees during the refoliation period. Refoliation means after leaf falling season, young leaves will be coming. During that particular season, maybe start for a few weeks, farmers will be giving tapping rest, and this tapping rest or the refoliation period will vary from country to country, slightly vary from country to country. It can vary within each country, this can vary from region to region, and even within the same region, this can slightly vary according to the clone, according to soil condition, and there are several other factors. So that means because farmers may be giving tapping rest at different point of time during the coming 2-3 months. Then coming to looking into the demand side, demand is expected to perform better than the previous 2-3 weeks, because China's manufacturing and trading activities have returned to normal after the long holiday for the Spring Festival. China is accounting 43% of the global demand for natural rubber. China was closed down for 2 or 3 weeks because of the long Spring Festival holiday or Lunar New Year holiday. Now Chinese activities have resumed. So that means that this week we are expecting more activities in China, means more rubber is consumed or imported in China. This is something positive. So we have a mix of negative and positive factors. Negative means we have highly favorable supply demand fundamental in the physical market. We have seen supply low and the demand is improving, especially from China improving. So we have a favorable supply demand fundamental in the physical market. This is a positive side. But in the futures market, speculative traders are likely to adopt an extremely cautious step in view of the risks and uncertainties arising from the two factors we mentioned. One is Federal Reserve's hawkish or aggressive policy intervention, and the geopolitical tension over Ukraine. So putting it in briefly, market fundamental is strong. Market fundamental is strong, but the ecosystem for speculative investment is unfavorable. So this is a very particular, very peculiar situation coming this week. We have a strong market fundamental, but at the same time, ecosystem for speculative investment is not favorable. So the questions here: will the strong market fundamental, or that means a tight supply and relatively better demand, will help rubber futures to offset the negative sentiments arising from the two factors we mentioned, that is Federal Reserve's intervention and geopolitics? So our question, whether this strong market fundamental will help futures market to offset those two negative sentimental factors. Then another way of looking at this: will the negative sentiment prevailing in the futures markets offset the favorable conditions or nullify the favorable conditions prevailing in the physical market? So that can also happen. So that means we have one strong physical market condition. At the same time, we have unfavorable conditions prevailing in the futures market. So let us see how the two opposite forces are going to play during the coming week. So we will see again at the next episode on next Monday at the same time. Thank you.
that's about the natural rubber market review by Mr. John Jacob, the rubber industry analyst. Move on to the next part of our program is rubber industry business profile. This is one of the component of the rubber industry NewsHour. In this program, in this session, what we do is we are introducing various companies, their profiles, and their services. Today we have two companies we're introducing under this theme, a rubber industry business profile. The first one is TechnoBiz, and there is another called Raja Chemicals. They are recognized as one-stop outlet for the specialty rubber chemicals. Let's review their company, their background, and their product profiles, and all the information. Please allow me to open their files. Okay, that's about the company presentation of the TechnoBiz. If you'd like to get more information on this company, you can contact them. And there is an actually I have uploaded their presentation in the handout section. You can download the PDF copy of it. Feel free to download the copy. You have all their product profiles and the contact information. We do so. Yeah. The next company I would like to introduce to all of you is the Wholewell Components. They're based in India, and they're also recognized as a one-stop solution for all elastomeric needs. Let me show you their presentation on what kind of products and their services. That's about the Coldwell components. It's a one-stop solution for all Erasmus needs. If you're interested in their products and services, please do contact them. Now the next part, this is another additional company profile information as well, but it's a shorter version of it. We call it a rubber industry buyer guide. This is basically a useful source guide of various rubber technology products and services providers, and you can say manufacturers and suppliers. And let me show you the various companies and their short profiles. And you can download this buyer guide. It's a PDF copy is available. You can download it. And if you're interested, you can reach out to them if any of their products are interesting to you. And let me show you their presentation. Okay, that's about the rubber industry buyer guide. The idea of this buyer guide is to introduce various suppliers information and so that you can contact them for any of your requirements. Okay, so that's the end of this rubber industry buyer guide. Now we are into this other part of the rubber industry NewsHour is focusing on the rubber industry research. In this program, we introduce or contact or talk to the various researchers or they make presentations. Today we have a guest, Dr. K. Rajkumar. Probably many of you may know him. He is a director of the Indian Rubber Manufacturers Research Association. We'll be discussing with him about IRMRA. We call shortly Indian Rubber Manufacturers is called IRMRA, and also what kind of research activities and developments happening at IRMRA. Okay, let's welcome Dr. K. Rajkumar. Please come on board, sir. Hi, Rajkumar, sir.
Hello.
How are you?
Fine, thank you, Mr. Param. How are you?
Good, good. Thank you for joining the session today on the Rubber Industry NewsHour. And it's a pleasure to have you. Okay, so we going to take some input and take your brains out of the what's happening at IRMRA and research. I think you've been working with IRMRA for more than 25 years, close to 25 years, yeah.
About 23 years.
23 years, and you've been a director for the last seven years for the IRMRA. Can you give me some insights about what kind of changes happened or development or the progress happened under your leadership, please?
Yeah, first of all, I would like to thank TechnoBiz for giving this opportunity to share some of our research and developments happening at IRMRA. Well, under my leadership, I can say that a lot more changes I brought. For example, I have upgraded infrastructure of non-tire research, mainly for focusing the requirements for the non-tire industries, basically, especially for testing of the REACH, ROHS, and similar regulatory testing facilities. We upgraded. I also recruited a young scientific team, basically, to support this thing. So we have a young team right now with us to do research, mainly to focus industrial consultancy projects and tire as well as non-tire. You may be aware that IRMRA has also added tire testing facilities since last 10 years and taking along. So I'm also expanding the facility of tire testing at South India also. So I have created two branches under my tenure, basically. One in South, that is in Sri City, Andhra Pradesh, and second one is in Sarpal, Kolkata, basically, Eastern region, basically. So these two we have created. And more than that, of course, now our team is more focusing on the research and development, not only for the industry oriented, but also some basic fundamental research and creating the IPR, basically intellectual property rights. I think last 5 years we have filed about more than 10 patents, around 12 patents. Whereas if you see the history of IRMRA last 60 years, even before 55 years, it was not given much focus on that. So maybe 4 or 5 patents were filed before 55 years. So last 5-6 years, we have filed more than 10 patents, basically. And similarly, it also goes for the publications, peer review publications. So this gives lots of branding and familiarity among the industries and scientific things. We also brought several academic collaborations at national and as well as international levels, basically. So more than about 20 MOUs I have facilitated to sign, basically, national level and international level, basically. They are mostly into academic collaborative research. Then also some of them industrial collaborations and all, like, basically. And so we keep increasing the add-on facilities, and many things are happening. So maybe as you go on discussions, maybe it will come out. Yeah. Another important thing is that we also started a MSc course, basically, on human resource development. it is important to develop human resource basically. So because we create lots of experience interacting with the industry, and so this knowledge needs to be disseminated to the human resource. So one of the area is we keep conducting the short-term courses, which you may be aware of it. But now, of course, another important is we also started this 2 years industrial polymer chemistry along with Mumbai University. So 1 year the campus, the students will be in the campus of Mumbai University, and second year they come to us in our campus, and that facilitated even more research. In fact, the students, when they come for the second year, they are taught theoretical as well as practicals. So every scientist have been given 1 or 2 students, and so apart from our own students, we also get the students from IITs, NITs, and other universities, leading universities. So we get blend of students, our own students as well as other students. So with the students, our scientists also get some more knowledge and expansion, and so we enrich the research content. So more number of publications and patents, and also leading to furthermore industrial consultancy projects basically. So these are some of the developments which I can highlight at this moment. And expansion in terms of tire testing as well as non-tire product development facilities. Significantly we have improved the infrastructure, and that's the development actually. Yeah.
Oh, see, I personally I know you, and I've seen a lot of changes happen. I think since you've been the director. First of all, I congratulate you the progress you have done and the last 7 years. And I want to hit on the you guys have started this center in the south in Sri City, and is it similar facilities like what you have in Thane now, or what kind of things happening there? What kind of testing facilities is it supporting the southern region industries? And can you elaborate on the services provided there? Yeah.
South India basically, one part is the South India is auto sectors. You may be aware that like lots of automotive industries are there in South India, and so the automotive industry and their supply chains basically. So the rubber industry mainly, who are making the auto rubber components, they used to send samples to IRMRA, whenever there is a need, of course, to Thane basically. Having started this facility in Sri City, Andhra Pradesh, gives more focused, the testing services to the local industry, and the number of members enhanced basically. Obviously now because of COVID, the progress has been slowed down, but we are now picking up with that actually. So there has been jump in the beginning when we started. Actually, lots of welcome was there actually, and facility wise, you see that like non-tire testing as well as tire testing we plan to start basically. So, and especially the tire labeling project, which is likely to come. I think government has already announced that tire labeling program. So we have recently procured the wet grip tire facility. So that is there in Global Automotive Research Center, GARC Chennai, where the track is there. So our vehicle is being placed over there. So we will be, using their track and involved in testing. And so this is another development which we have done that actually.
So I think the southern region, Sri City also plays significant role, similar to the Thane. Yeah.
That's, that's right. Yeah.
How about the eastern region, Calcutta? How is the situation now there?
Eastern region basically, they are more into the non-tire. So the tire industries are not much. Whereas if you see that there are industry who are focusing on the defense products and nuclear products, and also footwear. So there are industries who are in that particular category. So mainly we are supporting the local suppliers, and also some of the corporate research. We started doing that now. Corporate, big corporates, they wanted to do some research on their own materials, and as well as product development, including their material into the product. And so that kind of research also is being initiated in Calcutta Center. and they are all accredited, even South Center as well as East Center accredited by National Accreditation Board in ABL, so that the testing certificates are accepted across the globe. Basically, that is a prerequisite for any testing laboratory. So
Sure.
we have all the non-tier testing facilities there also. Maybe the processing, we just added the processing facility so that small R&D supports, industrial consultancy supports that can be done also. So maybe slowly I'm building the capability basically.
So there will be any other region, like north side also will have any facility like this?
That's right.
Covering everywhere?
That's my another reason. Of course, so we have covered west. We are already there for several years now. East and south are covered. Having done these two things, we have already identified that number of industries and the members are growing basically. So similarly, I have also requested the government of India to strengthen and sponsor some funding facility to set up similar one in northern region basically. So the proposals are already with our government, which is under active considerations. Maybe near, very soon we will come up with the facility in northern region. So mainly to focus, mainly to focus, developing the industrial competitiveness of Indian rubber industry to, tap untapped potentials basically. Yeah.
Yeah, that's nice. That's nice. But you talked about, various researches happening at your center, both the industry oriented and as well as fundamental research. Can you talk more about what kind of areas you are addressing in your research? Of course, there are some customer client based research, which you will talk about it, but the general areas of,
Yeah, I can only, point out general because we are very, very, very much confidentiality oriented, organization. So because we signed NDA and, confidentiality agreement with the customer. So, but, in generic way, I can say that, some of the failure investigations, then the, new product evaluations, and then, new materials, especially, the biomaterials we can say now. The replacement of that is replacement of petrochemical additives, so the biomaterials and natural materials, lots of for example silica, and then inorganic fillers which are suitable for replacing the carbon black. So several nanomaterials, nano fillers, and modification of such materials. So these are some of the potential research which our team was doing, and based on our publications, it attracted including the corporate customers. And so we started working on that. On an average, we conduct about 60 to 70 projects every year, basically. So 5-6 projects per month for various mostly non-tier research, basically. So this really, they come with problems. So we provide the solutions basically. So our team is fully engaged, and they don't need to invest so much basically at their level. Basically, that is our advantage. So we having done so, whatever the lack of facilities are there. So I have requested government to support. So there are some schemes we already submitted to enhance the facilities. And whatever is possible, apart from our self-sustaining, our own, recurring expenses, I also added a few facilities to immediate need basis, basically, and which is attracting more capital than I have requested our funding institutions to do things, basically. So that is another, developments which we are doing, basically. So more focused into material research, process research, and then the failure investigation and solutions. Mainly they come forward to see a solution for such failures, whether it is a product failure or the process failure or such kind of thing. And also to some of them are benchmark, that they may be having a benchmark products in the market. We don't know whose product it is, but they come with some kind of benchmarks. They want to match with that, basically. But we try to do some analysis and see what best need and how they can improve such kind of benchmarking analysis and guidance, mainly to the industry, that we do that actually.
A lot of times in particular case, big companies, they have their own in-house facilities or R&D. Even the
Correct.
medium scale also, sometimes they know what is the benefit of doing the research, but small scale, they still hesitant to,
They
we
can't
know
afford
that,
also. They need
they
a
can't
crores of
afford,
rupees. They
right?
can't afford. Correct,
So
correct, yeah.
you guys are
And
being
the thing
any
is that even if they
support.
put the infrastructure, yeah, even if they put infrastructure, they may not have, manpower to
Sure.
man it out. That is another challenge, basically. Even we ourselves face difficulties. There's scientists, they come and very soon they leave, basically. So retaining the manpower is really one of the big challenge for the industries. First is that identifying the good talents, then retaining them. So this is a big challenge even for institute like IRMRA. We have that actually. So
I think it's all the same situation to everyone, I guess, So yeah.
absolutely, yes.
You are also the active member of the current member of the ISO TC 45, which sets a bar for the standards for the ISO for particularly the rubber products. And what are the developments recently, happened in terms of the standards for the rubber products? And what else you would expect, in future? What any changes within any new standards and for the rubber products? Yeah, please.
A lot change, basically. India is looking tremendous changes in this particular area. I think I'm a member of almost last 20 years almost. I started my the standardization career when I joined IRMRA in 99. I think I started my standardization in 2002. 2003 onwards I became a member of ISO committee, so almost 20 years of long service. What I do is basically taking those ISO standards to Indian companies, and because and the industries are not very active in participation, whether it is national or international standardization. So, but I know as the Research and Development and Testing Institute, what the industries are facing. So I keep guiding them that this is what happening at the global level, and there is a need for change in the specification at a national level. That is our Bureau of Indian Standards. And so we try to upgrade our standards to the level of international. And to that effect, I'm one of the chairman of the committee, Bureau of Indian Standard for the PCD 29, that is test methods, basically. In fact, after my chairmanship, I took over the chairmanship. There are most of the test methods of ISO has been adopted under dual numbering or equivalent standards in Indian standards. So that means any standard is upgraded at the ISO level, because ISO level, lots of efforts are put by several participating P members and contributing members of country, several countries, and lots and lots of inputs are getting into that upgradations. And having India is one of the participative, long active members. In fact, ISO TC 45 is one of the very, very active member in ISO body from India, of course. So we being contributing that, so we keep adopting such standards in India easily, basically. So we don't look for any major change, etc. So what we need only whether it can be adopted or not, and we need to just explore the possibilities. Are there any problems in adopting? If it is some problems, then we will just do some changes. In fact, the changes requirement also has taken up at ISO level for upgrading the standard. So we keep commenting in ISO level and get upgraded, and the same thing is being adopted in India at national level. So this is how we have developed that. So most of the test methods are upgraded to the ISO level, and so the product specifications are also getting slowly upgraded. And the latest developments, like I can say that environmental related regulations, basically. So such standards were not there in India. Now we are trying to adopt them over here with adopting similar one. And for example, REACH, ROHS, all such materials, when we are exporting, there is a big I can say barricade, basically. So they have to test and get certified before it reaches the boundary. And whereas while coming, it is not that much to India, basically. But now the government of India has taken a lot of initiative to incorporate quality control orders. In fact, our own department, DPIIT now, has taken a lot of active interest in making the equal regulations stronger wherever possible to see that, like, the restrictions are imposed, not restriction, rather the global regulations, so that it is harmonized at international level basically. Earlier, our manufacturer used to make separate product for exports, one for India, another for export, like that. Now, at least with these changes, and at least they make one global product, which whether it could be sold at India or it could be outside also, and that's how. So government is giving a preference for Indian manufacturers, and if there is sufficient manufacturing facility, capability, and capacity is available in India, they are promoting that. And we are also identifying where possible we can upgrade the capability and capacity. So all such things are happening basically. So I think next 5 years much more changes are expected actually.
Yeah, you rightly said about the, people ask for the, I want export to Europe. So let's first look at whether we are environmentally conscious, reach approvals or not. But it's okay in India, it's okay, or in some other Asian countries, it's okay. You don't need to follow. I think uniformity is very important, so that of course the people living there, people living here, the same, similar nature, and the standards has to be standardized everywhere.
Yeah,
when it comes to the you talk about ISO, in which area products, there are a lot of change happening in terms of what kind of rubber products, standards been improved.
Yeah, now one recent development happened is that the standards for the toys basically. In fact, a lot of toys are being imported from the neighboring countries, including China, basically. So huge imports are happening, and the standards are being reviewed and upgraded, and we are also bringing out new standards. So the Bureau of Indian Standard has made a new committee for toys, and of course with my experience, the Bureau of Indian Standard has put me as a chairman of that committee, and we are interacting with the local manufacturers and other associated testing agencies and stakeholders as members of that committee. And also the government of India has sponsored us to set up a center of excellence for design and development of toys, basically in IRMRA. So just recently, last week news, basically we got a sponsored project for setting up the center of excellence, mainly to support the toys sector, basically. So what we envisage out of this COE is basically to strengthen the testing infrastructure at IRMRA, along with the processing infrastructure which is available, to create more entrepreneurship for toys design and development. We are also partnering with major institute partners, IIT and NID and other IDMI and other institutes in and around Mumbai and other states, basically. So plus we are also bringing out new test methods which are applicable for the toys, basically. So upgrading the product standards, then maybe it will be regulated by the government, basically. So these are some of the key areas where IRMRA is going to work very closely with the government as well as stakeholders, basically. That's one part. And second part is India is preparing a standard which is equivalent to REACH, basically. REACH, basically. So otherwise what happen, any product which are even if it is consumed, you have to go for REACH testing, and the testing of REACH compliance is very costly when we go, because this in compliance testing has to go to the Europe for mainly for testing and certifications, our associated laboratories. So we are bringing out equivalent standards in India, which is at the draft stage. In fact, IRMRA is making the draft. Very soon it will be circulated to the active members, and then it will be done, basically. So REACH and ROHS, all those things. Another important is that environmental related product, for example, extended producers responsibility of tires recycling, and some of the recycling of various rubber products like conveyor belt, any major product which are dumped in the environment. So the Ministry of Environment, along with the stakeholders, have created the a new I can say the notifications for regulation of such things is underway basically. So that is another big change is going to be there. And the latex products, which are SBR latex, which are being imported for various applications, are being reviewed for notifications and all. So several initiatives are being taken up. For hoses, we made, of course, the LPG hoses for the domestic and industrial applications. They are already been regulated. Then the tires, global tire regulations are coming up. In fact, they are another big change is going to be there in the near future. Already it is partly is being notified. Maybe the voluntary phase notification is already out, and maybe the the mandatory certifications will be very soon. It will be started actually.
Wow, you're doing a lot. There's so much on the plate. Huh?
Yes.
And
Yeah,
you
of course.
mentioned nicely about this center of excellence for the toys, and so in the future, you guys are going to do like incubation for the startups, and because these kind of things can be good for the micro level enterprises, and that is also on the plate for you guys.
Yes, of course. So once we are into once the first thing is that we want to strengthen the infrastructure for testing and then the processing. And one of the lacuna which we have identified for IRMRE is the design. So we, in discussion with the government, we have partnered with some of the design institutes so that that can be strengthened. So once we have that strength, definitely it will be helpful for developing incubations, startups, new entrepreneurship development. So there will be a lot more seminars and welcome stakeholders meet. Many things is going to be happening basically. So maybe very soon we will be launching this project. So we received just last week, and so I'm preparing for implementations, taking some advice. We are making a project advisory committee by taking the various experts in across the country who are already being in this business, and somebody has new innovative ideas. So we are working on that actually. So it's amazing, exciting project which we got it, and we want to take it up as a big challenge to see that it is very much operational. And even if we could make some 10%, 5% of the import substitutions, it will be a big success basically.
Sure.
More than about 5,000 crores worth toys are being imported every year, and it's a big money basically. And these toys basically is very short-lived species basically. So once the child play only till the next toy comes to its hand basically. So basically they just look for, so it could be 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, but after that it goes to the dustbin, and then goes to the wherever it is dumped, and then goes to the environment actually. So this is a big money which is being spent.
Don't tell me I have 2 daughters, so I know how to deal with these toys. So I would touch on this, your tire testing facilities, and currently what kind of tests is happening there, and also you talk about the changes in the regulations of the tires. Can you a little more into the details about, in the regulation point of view, what changes you're expecting are going to happen soon? So.
Currently what happened, any toys are being imported, they are supposed to get it tested as per the Indian standard for the first time, and then only they are allowed to import and trade it in India actually. So that's the current situation basically. So that there are several toys testing laboratories have been accredited by National Accreditation Board, including IRMRE is one of the toys testing laboratory, and then it's being implemented. So now what changes we are making is basically more because what standards we have right now is a very generic standard, only 4 or 5 standards are there. But whereas the versatility of ties too many basically, there are several ties, wood based, clay based, plastics, rubber, and so on. So the materials are too many basically. So so many things are being looked at in a standardization level basically. So there is a big challenge even while standardizing it basically. So a lot of things are being happening. So at this moment we are in a very premature level for making new standards, whereas whatever is already available we are trying to implement it basically. So maybe it will take another 1 year or 2 years to come with many more standards to regulate. Basically, that's the thing.
Sure. I would like to address the last point of view. So, what's the plan? Okay, I see lots of activities. Or what is the future direction for the IRMRA under your
Well,
leadership? I think, how to be recognized as a world body or a rubber research center or something like that?
Yes, of course. Our vision is always there. Vision 2030 has been made, in focus, contributing. Rubber industry has got huge, tremendous potential. It's about 90,000 crores is a turnover, but it can be doubled or tripled, with the near future, basically, if we are able to focus on this sector, basically. So the government is very much active in considering some of the schemes of the project, what we projected. And, the investment in the R&D needs to be strengthened, basically. So basically, the global average R&D is about 1.7% of GDP, whereas India is about 1.2%. And rubber industry is quite less, maybe 0.7 to 0.8%, which we come across in the things. And that too more, happening investment in the tire industry. Non-tire is still less, basically. So to develop the non-tire industry's competitiveness, so IRMRA is one institute can be a lot of partner with the industry and states, basically. So I have proposed to some new centers, of course, northern region one center, also some second level and third level cities of country, wherein that there are possible entrepreneurs can come up, basically, especially those students come out from the colleges, they want to stay back in their home and they want to do some developing business, basically. So we want to take IRMRA into that level and see that, and those entrepreneurs can be nurtured. If what we are having right now is only at the metro cities where IITs and NITs, those students mostly they go abroad, basically. So we wanted to get into the low, second level, third tier cities, basically, where we can nurture the real talents of the another level of students who really runs the country, I can say right now, basically. So that's the part, basically. So we have proposed a few projects in that line. So maybe I wish that another 7-8 IRMRA centers is come at different level, if not a big level like what we have at Thane, but at least a small incubation centers at different cities. So I have identified some 7-8 cities and proposed to the government and to see that. So to double the economy at least of rubber industry in next 5 to 6 years, and next 10 years maybe it could be tripled, basically. So the developing the competitiveness is the one important. So where we identified some of the automation is needed, the process, raw material is a very key issues we are facing, the raw materials, basically. So some of the raw material manufacturers we are discussing, so they wanted to increase the capacity of their facilities. So these are some of the issues we want to address, join hand with the government, so that the industrial competitiveness can be enhanced, improved, and so as to tap the export potential, and also the import substitutions. And another part, of course, the latex industry. Latex is a big market again. So India is doing very little compared to the global opportunities, basically. So I'm also pursuing the government to see that like the latex industry can be more strengthened. So we look for some investors from any countries, neighboring countries who wants to come over here, make in India, invest in India. So these are some of the projects we would like to take it ahead, basically. So that's our vision. So IRMRA will definitely be there as a the strengthening R&D partner to identify the projects, viable projects, technological solutions, and scientific research to change the future, whether it is a material or the process. Anywhere we want to do that, so we can develop such things. That is our future vision, basically.
Thank you, Raj. It's really nice to know all the actions happening there at IRMRA, and I wish you the best. And I think the way I see the direction of IRM, what is they're doing is really sustainability of the rubber industry, both the tire and also non-tire segment, including talking about the latex products. Even you're also the way you look at the toys it's also, it will be really useful in even the housewives also get involved. They know the tools, they may be the future designers of the, the very for the products, the toy products also. I'm really thankful, coming today for this session on the rubber industry research as a part of the rubber industry NewsHour. I wish you the best and also keep well. And I see you got to run, I guess. Lot to do. Yeah. So once again, thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Param. And it's been wonderful time we had to talk after a long time. Basically, I'm sure that this news will be spread over the industry, and any kind of collaborations which they would like to start with IRMRA, they can always dialogue with me, and they can most welcome anytime to IRMRA, whether it is Eastern Center or South Center, or even at West region. We are all there basically to see that wherever possible industry needs any kind of support, whether scientifically or technically, even including the manpower, we are ready to help for their own part of success basically. So we will always be a part of the industrial success. If the industry success is there, we are there, because it's always a give and take basically. So what they need, we do that. What we do, they need. So it's so if we do something, then they come over here and take it like that. So we try to bridge that gap and see that it is happening. That. Thank you once again, Mr. Para, for inviting me to share some of my experience. Actually,
thanks, Raj. Thanks, Dr. Rajkumar. I'm sure that we'll be seeing each other in future sessions. With more informative, sessions with you. Thank you once again.
Pleasure.
Talk to you again. Cheers.
Thank you. Cheers.
Okay, that's about the rubber industry research session with Dr. K. Rajkumar. And yes, you can see what's happening at the IRMRA and activities and the research activities that so this is one of the prestigious and resourceful institute, and you guys all should get to know them very well. Okay, now move on to the next part of this program, which is called the rubber industry tips and tricks. Okay, we're all here for this. Is one of the very interesting session of our program, and in this program, in this part of the session, I call it a session the tips and tricks. So basically, we invite a various experts to give useful tips to make your process better or solve the the problems related to the rubber processing or tire manufacturing. Today we have Mr. Narapathidhar, is a veteran and a well-experienced rubber industry professional with more than 45 years experience in both the rubber as well as the tire industry. And he's going to share some of the useful tips for you on the problem called the bagginess problem in tire cord fabrics. I believe that is very useful to all of you. Please let me open the presentation on it.
Welcome to Rubber Industry Tips and Tricks, which is an initiative of TechnoBiz. My name is Narapathidhar. I've got a total experience of more than 40 years in tire companies, tire cord company, and allied industries. Today, I would like to share my experience about one of the most important problems faced by all tire companies in processing of textiles. Today's discussion point is beginners problem in tire cord fabrics. Let us understand what is a tire cord fabric. It is not a usual fabric. It is a very special type of industrial fabric where all the cords are put longitudinally, supported by very fine weft, only to keep the cords in position and to control the API. What it means is a very, very delicate type of fabric. At every stage, it will have to be monitored. Second most important point, that it has got a tendency to absorb moisture. And let us understand now what is bagginess. Literally, bagginess means sagging or loosely held. Now, in case of the gray fabric, we find that the pictorial representation, the processing is quite smooth, fabric is moving smoothly. This photograph was taken at the let-off of dipping unit. The dipped fabric, the photo taken at the calendering unit, it shows the bagginess or sagging of selvage or sagging of fabric. Now, it has got a tremendous implication in the tire industries. Number one, it causes a lot of scrap, and fabric is a very, very important component of tire, very expensive. Secondly, it can disrupt even the production in case of severe places. Most importantly, that when the fabric wood is not controlled due to bagginess, the EPA distribution or distribution of the cores gets disturbed, which is very serious so far as the performance of the tires are concerned. And keeping this in mind, we will now discuss tips and tricks. Number one. Now, it will not be overemphasized if I say moisture is the actual enemy of tire cord fabric, and it is very, very important to control moisture absorption at every stage. The starting point is the conversion hall, where the twisting is done and the fabric is made. One thing we need to remember, that it's not an extremely automatic fast process. It takes time for one roll to be getting ready. It may take any time depending on the width and length of the rolls. It may take 5 hours, 6 hours, 7 hours time. During that period, the selvages or sides are exposed to atmosphere, though the center of the roll is protected by the supporting layers. Hence, strictly it is necessary to maintain humidity and temperature in the hall. Second one point is that graze dipped or calendared rolls at no point of time it should be kept on the floor, because of the weight of the roll, the bottom portion of the fabric gets distorted, and it can cause a very serious quality issue. It should be easily kept on the rails, where the rolls can be handled with a forklift or the hoist. Shift system, what you call that fast come and fast out, is the next important point for grade, all the rolls, grade, dipped and calendar rolls. For that purpose, what is most important is to maintain minimum practical inventories of rolls at every stage. Though today things are a bit more difficult, because most of the deep rolls for the tire companies are coming from outside. Hence, a lot of coordination is necessary to get the material as and when it is required. Next point is that these rolls are properly packed, and it should not be opened till the roll is to be loaded to the machine, to the next step. Hence, the packing should be removed only at the point when the machine is ready to take this particular roll. Now, this is the most critical part, is the stress wrap packing. This is quite a foolproof system, where the rolls are packed by an automatic machine, and Let us see now the pictorial representation of a stress machine, stress dip. Now, this is actually called standard stress dip packing method. What it means that it is clear from there that when the roll is dipped, when it goes to the wind up, there is immediately one transparent polythene film is used to cover it up so that it does not absorb any moisture, followed by on the sides silica gel packets. Then the roll is stress wrapped. What is called, it is a basically automatic wrapping machine. After that, the side discs are put to protect the roll. And finally, one more layer of polythene film is used for extra protection for moisture. One thing we need to remember always, when a roll is produced, the roll will have to be identified properly because there are a number of rolls. These rolls might be meant for one company, but like that, there will be probably 5 companies material only producing the same day. Hence, immediately the identification tag, what we call it, to be put. It should be mentioned clearly, date of production, then roll number details, then what is the fabric style, and finally, specifically emphasizing on the date of production, because in the next stage, the date of production will be monitored very carefully. Now, let us see the second tip and tricks. Here, this is a relative phenomena, but it's very, very critical. But both the tip and tricks to go together. Here, we have tried to explain what happens at different stages. Starting out with grace fabric to dipping unit. When the roll is ready, when it is taken for dipping purpose, the condition of the roll and maximum shelf life recommended is 6 months. And it has been found that it does not cause any particular problem of blade holes if it is processed in 6 months. But here fundamental condition is that integrity of the packing will have to maintain and it will have to be checked before it is taken for dipping. Next stage is dip roll to calendar process. Here, this is the most important step where recommended shelf life is about 30 days. Here, it is very, very critical because today most of the dip rolls come from outside, from other factories. Hence, the tire company will have to monitor and maintain inventory, what you call just in time. Otherwise, it will cause quality issues. Recommended maximum number of days is 30 days. And here also the most important part, that first thing to check up is the integrity of the packing of the roll and taken for calendaring. And that also the packing to be removed just before the splicing or when the roll is ready to be loaded to the calendaring unit. Now, we will go for the calendar shelf process, controller process from calendar roll to bias cutting. Because we have seen in the earlier slide that dip roll has come to the calendar machine. Now it will be calendared and it will be sent to bias cutting. Here, most critical important point is that India is a vast country. Here, summer in some of the states, temperature goes above 45 degrees centigrade, while in monsoon, some of the states, especially the coastal areas, humidity is more than 80 to 90%. Hence, shelf life of the processed fabric is particularly very, very critical. Here, basically, what is there? It is simpler, much more simpler than the earlier stage. Here, first, black polythene film wrapping is done, and the sides silica gel packets are applied to ensure that there is no moisture absorption on the sides of the calendar roll. Now, we have talked here about shelf life control, and this shelf life control at this stage is very, very important, especially after dipping, after calendering. And these calendar rolls should be used or should be cut, what we call it the bias cutter machine, within 48 to 72 hours. And if it is more, it has been found that it will absorb moisture and give extra scrap during bias cutting. Hence, the shelf life control of fabric rolls is extremely important, and that people responsible for the process, it is necessary for them to control at every stage. Otherwise, it will be very difficult to control the scrap and other processing problems. Now, let us go next tip and trick 3, which is the most important part of the discussion today. Here we find that there are 3 types of bagginess. One is baggy edges. Baggy edges means, actually literally means the sides of the fabric on both the sides are saggy and droopy. The next one is baggy center. This happens mainly because of the tight selvage cords and crowding of selvage cords at the selvages. Then comes baggy lane or localized. This is a localized issue. It can be observed anywhere from center to center. Now we will examine that how to control the process so that the damages are minimized. Here we are talking of the process control of bagginess, tip and trick 3. Here, for baggy edges and baggy lane or localized, this one, first one is actually the droopy selvage and baggy lane. These two can be controlled at the calendar let-off. Here, first point is adopting top unwinding of dip roll at calendar let-off. That is, the way the fabric is unwound from the roll is very important. It should be from top. Next, increasing the let-off break pressure till the bagginess in the roll is found to reduce. Then, increasing the let-off accumulated tension. Pull with the spreader in the up position to the extent that there is no splitting of the fabric. Edge spreaders, which are located just before calendering machine near the calendar entry, is to be adjusted to control the width to the point the splitting of fabric does not occur. Now, what's most important is, with above measures, the calendar line, the bagginess of type of droopy selvage and the center bagginess can be directly reduced with proper care and process control. Now we will see about the selvage type and center baggy. This is the actually most severe type of bagginess. Here, if we follow the systems which we have described earlier, if we follow, there are chances that the fabric will split at the junction where the fabric is tight and where the fabric is loose. From that point, fabrics tend to split. Hence, that it may not be possible always to use the methods which we have described so far. Here, special measures to be taken. The only standard method is to see how to control the moisture of the salvages. And secondly, most important and very harmless or easy to apply system is to use relaxed cords at the salvages of the rolls. In the process, what happens? These salvages becomes normal. The tightness or the crowded salvage chances are much less. Here, I must mention there are other ways, but that is much more critical and will have to be taken care of by the very senior engineers, where basic design of the fabric can be looked into it. Now, in this slide, we have tried to explain the criticality of the type of breakiness and how to handle it. Today, it may not be possible, it will not be possible to go further, go details of the breakiness problem, and we will probably discuss it later in more details. And here I conclude my talk. I thank you all for your patient hearing and hope to discuss the issue at a later date at convenient time.
Okay, that's the presentation on the bagginess problems in tire cord fabrics by Mr. Narapati there as a part of the rubber industry tips and tricks. I believe that's very useful to you all. With he gave a practical suggestion that how to handle the problem. Can I move on to the next part of this program today is the rubber industry education. As part of this education, I'm introduced to you all. Maybe some of you know already, but this is an executive diploma program of the rubber industry in technology and management. I do request you, all of you, to consider to join this program, because as you can work at the same time, you can also join this program. If you are, but this is basically suitable for the people working in the industry. Okay, not for the students, but people working in the industry. This is how the program designed, both the technical aspects and the management aspects. Let's have a look at the program. Okay, that's about the rubber industry technology and management. As I mentioned to you, that's a very useful program for all of you who are working in the industry. If you like to improve your skills, both technical and also management aspects, it's worth to try. The last part of today's session is the rubber industry opportunities. What is it? Basically, it's opportunities like jobs, what kind of jobs are available, from which companies. Those information will be displayed in this part of the program. I do suggest and encourage all the audience, if you have a job opportunities in your company, you can share to us. I will publicize through this program, Rubber Industry NewsHour, under the session Rubber Industry Opportunities. So let me show you the what kind of opportunities are available now. A short presentation here. Okay. Okay, that's about the rubber industry opportunities. If you may not be interested in this, position, but if you know someone, you can share this information to them so somebody will be benefited. Okay, so this will be uploaded into the onto YouTube, so you can share the information to all of the people who would be interested to have the details on this kind of job opportunities. Okay, let's wrap it up. Almost done. I'll give you some quick intro to the various upcoming events coming soon. So let's have a quick glimpse of these ones. those are the upcoming events. It's going to happen soon. You can check it out on our websites or our social media platforms. Okay. So that's the end of this program today. You can find this whole event today happen. You can watch on our YouTube channel, TechnoBiz channel. I'm going to upload this program, and even if you would like to look at old editions, episodes, you can check that at our TechnoBiz channel. And you know how to reach out to me. Okay, this is my contact information. I'm happy to assist you any way I can. Please reach out to me. This by either used by email or WhatsApp. Okay. So thank you all for joining this session today, and I'm hoping you find it useful. I see you next week, same time. Thank you all. Bye bye for now.